You know what? I'll keep the intro really short and just brief you about the things I'm going to talk about. The title makes it pretty clear that I'll be diving into the complete backstory and horrors of Arkham Asylum from different media. So, I'd give a brief origin before exploring the notorious asylum's dark backstory as explained in the comics, especially a serious house on serious Earth. I'd also explore its various portrayals across video games, animated and live-action stuff, and finally, we'll see how Arkham has been shown at its worst in the new Joker movies and Going Penguin show. And now, let's begin. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. Now, this is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Arkham's origins in comics. Elizabeth Arkham Asylum for the criminally insane, known simply as Arkham Asylum, is a psychiatric facility on the outskirts of Gotham City. If you know the DC multiverse, if you have even a passing knowledge of it, you'd know that Arkham Asylum has a dark and super twisted home to many of Batman's most infamous enemies: the Joker, Riddler, Two-Face, Scarecrow, and countless others. Jeremiah Arkham later took over the facility as director, effectively took over the task of managing this labyrinth of madness. Nothing about Arkham is gleeful. Everything that happens here, every brick that helped in building it, is pretty much steeped in tragedy, much like its very name. It was founded by Amadeus Arkham, a Gotham psychiatrist who named it after his mother. Her battle with mental illness ended in an untimely death, one Amadeus himself caused, though he repressed the memory of euthanizing her. The name also reeks of Lovecraftian influence, drawn from Arkham Sanatorium, a facility mentioned in H.P. Lovecraft's Tales of Horror. This connection gives Gotham's Arkham an intertextual darkness, which mirrors Lovecraft's eerie and unsettling atmospheres and binds the sanitarium to the asylum with a terrifying thread. Arkham first appeared in Batman No. 258, a comic that dates back to October 1974 and was created by Dennis O'Neil and penciled by Irv Novick. Initially called Arkham Hospital, depicted as being in a remote rural area. By Batman No. 326, Len Wein reimagined the asylum and located it in Gotham suburbs. Its fictional history wasn't fully established until 1985 in an issue of Who's Who in the DC Universe, also written by Wein. For years, Arkham served mainly as a plot device, a revolving door to temporarily confine Batman's enemies. Even Commissioner Gordon voiced his frustration, who was the one who referred to it as a revolving door that never kept Gotham's worst locked away for long. It was Grant Morrison who brought new depth to Arkham with Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth. Morrison transformed it from a mere setting to a psychological labyrinth and effectively reflected the darkness that makes home within Batman and his rogues. This perspective opened the door for other stories centered on the asylum and its inhabitants, such as Arkham Asylum, Living Hell, and Arkham Asylum Madness, each of which delved into the unsettling dynamics of Gotham's most notorious institution. Now, we pick up the Arkham stories, starting with the comics. Arkham Asylum, a serious house on serious Earth, 1989. The story of Amadeus Arkham, founder of Arkham Asylum, was described in his own journal. Amadeus walks through the vast, shadow-filled halls of the Arkham family mansion, reflecting on his troubled mind. After his father's death, the mansion became his entire world, isolating him from any outside reality. He feels like a ghost, wandering the empty corridors alone with his ailing mother. One night in 1901, Amadeus experiences something otherworldly. So he believes. As he brings a meal to his mother, she tells him she's already eaten. Suddenly, beetles crawl out of her mouth, which meant that she actually ate the bugs. But Amadeus believes the beetles symbolize rebirth. It was also the first time that he felt truly alone. Years later, Amadeus realizes the beetles represent his mother's attempt to protect herself, reborn into a mysterious other world filled with symbols, magic, and terror. Haunted by his mother's actions and struggling with his own sanity, Amadeus's perception of reality blurs into fantasy. After this flashback from Amadeus Arkham's journal, the scene shifts to present-day Gotham. The bat signal illuminates the sky, meaning that Commissioner Jim Gordon wants Batman's help. They reach Arkham Asylum. A riot has broken out, with inmates seizing control and taking staff hostage. Their demands are odd: furniture, stored dummies, food, and clothing. The final request is a strange one, though. They want to speak directly with Batman. Gordon connects Batman to the Joker, Gotham's most famous villain. The Joker cheerfully reveals that the inmates believe Batman belongs in Arkham with them. During their conversation, the Joker introduces a girl named Pearl, whose screams tell Batman that she probably didn't survive Joker's ruthlessness. The scratching sound of a pencil sharpening meant Pearl's horrific end, as she likely had her eyes gouged out by the Joker. Shaken by the Joker's cruelty, man realizes he must act without negotiation. The Joker sets a half half-hour deadline and instructs the Dark Knight to bring a white stick. When Batman discusses the situation with Gordon, he insists on handling it alone. Batman admits that entering Arkham feels like confronting his own fears and doubts, the mission both a physical and psychological battle. Determined to save Pearl and end the Joker's reign of terror, Batman prepares to face the chaos within Arkham Asylum, but he knows full well this might push him to his limits. Back to Amadeus Arkham. He returned to his family home in Gotham in 1920, and his mother, Elizabeth Arkham, took her own life by slashing her throat with a razor. Surprisingly, Amadeus believed it was for the best. As the sole heir, he inherited the sprawling Mercy Mansion and its surrounding land. Shaken by his mother's death, he decided to transform the mansion into a sanctuary for the mentally ill so that he could provide the care to others that his own mother lacked. Settling into his old room, Amadeus struggled with restless nights plagued by haunting dreams of beating wings and distant dog barks. Of course, the nightmares were a reflection of what the man felt. Despite the mansion's eerie atmosphere, Amadeus continued his work in Metropolis, where he specialized at the State Psychiatric Hospital. One day, a particularly violent inmate named Martin Mad Dog Hawkins was referred to him. Hawkins was notorious for mauling his victims' faces and sexual organs, which in turn was a result of the severe abuse he endured from his father. During their sessions, Hawkins spoke about his belief system and said that the Virgin Mary inspired his brutal acts to punish the promiscuous and disease spreaders. Questioned about his self-harm, Hawkins confessed that he cut himself with a razor just to feel something. Maybe it was his idea of penance. After 2 hours of treatment, Hawkins was returned to Metropolis Penitentiary to await an unfair trial. Amadeus reflected on how individuals like Hawkins weren't criminals but victims of psychological trauma and thought deeply about the system's failure to help them. This realization solidified his commitment to creating a place where the mentally ill could receive proper treatment. Amadeus informed his wife Constance and their daughter Harriet that they'd soon move back to Gotham to join him at the mansion. That night, while alone in his room, Amadeus dreamt of his childhood self lost in a house of mirrors at a funhouse. Terrified by the strangers in the mirrors, he stood hesitantly before a door marked Tunnel of Love. His father appeared, guiding him out. The fear lingered. Suddenly, figures from the mirrors seemed to creep into the real world, jolting Amadeus awake. He felt as if the darkness within was calling him back. Batman arrives at the gates of the old Arkham house, only to be greeted by the Joker himself, a salt on his fingers and a grin, because, why not? I mean, who would he be without his smile? The Joker suggests Batman sprinkle the salt on him, meaning he's good enough to eat. Of course, the Caped Crusader doesn't have time for all this crap and tells Joker that he was there to release the hostages taken by the inmates. The Joker signals his lackeys to move out, and it becomes clear that Pearl was working for Joker, and yeah, her eyes were all right. When Batman asks how exactly Pearl survived, the Joker laughs his maniacal laughter and calls it an April Fool's prank. As tensions rise, the Joker taunts Batman about Robin, which leads to a heated exchange where Batman orders the Joker to stop touching him. Batman asks why the hostages were present there, at which point Ruth Adams, a psychotherapist at Arkham, explains that some chose to stay voluntarily. She introduces Dr. Cavendish, the asylum's administrator who proudly shares his love for administering electroshock therapy to patients. Suddenly, the Joker sniffs a stench and reveals Harvey Dent, also known as Two-Face, crouching on the floor with a pack of cards. Batman's shocked to see Dent in such a pitiful state and asks Ruth what she did to him. Ruth explains her unconventional therapy methods, placing Dent's coin with a die and then cards to give him more choices. Batman points out that these methods have shattered Dent's decision-making abilities, but Ruth defends her approach and compares his with Arkham Manor folklore about hidden passages and ghostly legends. The Joker interrupts, eager to play card games, and shows Batman a bizarre card filled with streaks and smudges. When Batman shows his confusion, Joker makes it clear that Robin wasn't safe, well, at least, not for long. Two other inmates demand Batman remove his mask, but the Joker snaps back, insisting that Batman's mask is his true face. And that, my friends, is an exceptional piece of observation. Do you remember Dark Knight Rises? Specifically the charity ball where Catwoman asks who Bruce was pretending to be. While everyone was wearing masks to pretend to be someone else, Bruce wasn't, because his Bruce Wayne persona is a facade, and Batman is who he is. In fact, he even tells Selina that he was pretending to be Bruce Wayne, the eccentric billionaire. Anyway, determined to dive deeper into Batman's psyche, the Joker proposes a word association test, much to Ruth's disapproval. Batman agrees that a psychological battle would be more prudent. In his journal, Amadeus Arkham reflects on the biblical battle between the Archangel Michael and Lucifer, comparing himself to Michael in his mission to fight the demons within Arkham House. He dreams of transforming the mansion into a sanctuary of reason over madness. His daughter Harriet is plagued by nightmares, which he dismisses as a result of reading Lewis Carroll's work, hoping they'll cease once renovations are complete. One evening, he finds a Joker card near her bedside he assumes was dropped by a workman. In the present day, Batman undergoes a word association test with Ruth Adams. When prompted with the word mother, he recalls the image of his mother's broken pearl necklace and replies, Pearl. I hope you understand where this is leading up to and what's happening. If not, well, no worries, I've got you covered. Anyways, as the test continues, Batman's associations grow darker as he links father with death, and he asks Ruth to stop. The Joker, delighted by Batman's distress, bursts into another laughter. Arkham's journal resumes in 1920, recounting his travels to Europe where he met Carl Jung and Aleister Crowley. Upon returning home for Christmas, he finds construction on Arkham House progressing and receives a cuckoo clock for Harriet. But the peace is short-lived when Arkham learns that Martin Hawkins has escaped. Though he brushes off the news, it was the beginning of the end for his family. The Joker announces it's time for the entertainment to begin and lays out the game for Batman. He has 1 hour to escape Arkham Asylum before the inmates, including Scarecrow, Clayface, Dr. Destiny, and Killer Croc, will hunt him down. Batman initially refuses, but the Joker explains through a sick joke which would have him playing an April Fool's prank on a new father. The punchline was supposed to be shooting a security guard. And of course, he makes it clear there's no negotiating. As Batman runs through the hallways, haunted by memories of his parents' murder, he recalls his father scolding him for being afraid at the theater. Bruce was left alone after his parents' tragic death, and that loss lingers with him as he smashes a mirror in Arkham. Meanwhile, the Joker and his gang watch Batman's progress. One of the gang members suggests breaking the deal and going after Batman early. The Joker insists on sticking to the hour. When the man asks Harvey Dent for his opinion, Dent simply admires the moon, likening it to a silver dollar coin flipped by God, a metaphor for the world's creation. Back in 1920, Amadeus Arkham's journal revealed more terrifying stuff. It reads that he discovered his wife and daughter brutally murdered, his daughter's head placed in a dollhouse. This sight pushes him to the brink of insanity as he puts on his mother's wedding dress and collapses in a fit of despair, choking and vomiting. By now, the Arkham Asylum had opened and Mr. Arkham was taking patients. His journal also details the accounts of the Mad Dog, aka Hawkins. He happily recounts every detail of his crimes, including the disturbing abuse inflicted on Arkham's daughter. Arkham, though outwardly composed, listens as Hawkins recounts the horrific acts, including his daughter begging for mercy. After 6 months of treatment, Arkham's patience runs out. On April 1st, 1922, same day his family was taken from him, he straps Hawkins into the electroshock chair and kills him, disguising the murder as a tragic accident. The smell of ozone and burned flesh fills the room, but Arkham feels nothing. He continues his work, wandering the asylum's corridors late at night, routinely updating his journal. Monotonous routine is his attempt to hold on to his sanity, though he often hears laughter echoing from an empty cell. After covering his study mirror with tape, the laughter finally ceases. Arkham's grip on reality begins to unravel. He believes the asylum is a living organism, feeding off madness. He sees himself as part of its biological process, moving through its empty halls as if trapped in a never-ending maze of his own creation, where he's lost in the madness he once sought control. Meanwhile, Batman encounters Maxi Zeus, made strapped to wires for electric therapy. The Greek sign reads, "Discover thyself," hinting at Batman's own journey of self-exploration and connecting with Arkham's mysterious past. Zeus greets Batman as a pilgrim, proclaiming himself a god, half man, half woman. He rants about electricity as divine power, offers to bestow this power on Batman, insisting he can make him a conduit for others. Batman ignores the invitation, leaving Zeus pleading behind. In Amadeus Arkham's journal, he reflects on Friend's concern for his health. Taken to the opera, he feels misunderstood and isolated, describing his mind shattering into pieces. Consuming 3 doses of amanita mushrooms, he begins hallucinating. Seeing Pisces in the form of clownfish, he interprets it as a sign of initiation, death and rebirth. Believing he must confront his inner demons, he prepares to face the symbolic dragon in the tower, though he fears he may not have the strength. Batman fights Killer Croc as Arkham's narration describes his psychedelic fear, likening his experience to fleeing from a monstrous entity. Batman's thrown out a window, grasping a ledge to save himself. The journal continues as Arkham panics, unable to pray. Haunted by hallucinations of doors and bleeding keyholes, he's paralyzed by fear. Batman grabs an angelic statue's spear, re-engaging Killer Croc. They clash. Batman impales Croc, echoing Arkham's comparison to mythical figures like Christ, Attis, and Odin. Arkham's fear peaks as he frantically rips tapes off a mirror, desperate to see his reflection. Batman, wounded by Croc, mirrors Arkham's struggles. Arkham, now uncertain if he's fighting the dragon or himself, collapses. In his hallucination, he questions his heroism, feeling he's failed his quest. Batman encounters Dr. Cavendish, the asylum's administrator, who holds a knife to Ruth Adams' throat. Cavendish reveals he released the inmates, igniting the riot. Batman accuses him, and Cavendish points to Amadeus Arkham's journal on the table. He insists Batman read it to understand his motive. In the journal, Arkham recalls a memory he'd suppressed. In 1920, during a stormy night, he was with his terrified mother, who screamed about seeing a monstrous bat. To save her from this perceived torment, Arkham killed her with a knife. He realized he'd inherited madness, his family's legacy. Determined to contain his inner demons and the asylum's horrors, he built the institution's security measures, bars, walls, and electrified fences, believing it was his destiny. Cavendish, dressed in a wedding dress like Arkham's mother, declares that Batman is the Bat Arkham tried to imprison. He accuses Batman of bringing madness to the asylum by continuously sending criminals there, fueling the place's dark power. Batman denies this, stating he's merely a man. Cavendish, convinced Batman is the demonic Bat, recounts Arkham's later years, his imprisonment for attempted murder, and his obsession with containing the Bat through shamanic rituals. Arkham scratched a binding spell into his prison cell floor, taking years he could trap the Bat's essence. The story shifts to Arkham's final days in prison, where he embraces madness, rejecting confinement of sanity. He sees freedom in the chaotic, non-linear world of insanity. Cavendish, having discovered Arkham's secret journal and his destiny, lured Batman to the asylum to kill him and fulfill Arkham's vision. Cavendish attacks Batman, who, weakened from his previous battles, manages to dislodge the knife but is overpowered. Ruth Adams seizes the blade, slashing Cavendish's throat to save Batman. Shaken by her actions, Ruth is comforted by Batman, who insists Cavendish deserved it. The two leave the room, with Batman taking Two-Face's coin from Ruth. Despite her pleas for him to escape, Batman heads deeper into the asylum, stating he must confront the inmates. He insists he's stronger than them and the madness within the asylum, declaring that sometimes madness is necessary to reveal one's true nature. Batman breaks through the barred doors with an axe, advancing into the asylum's depth. Batman arrives at the asylum's gates, using an axe to break them open. He confronts the gathered inmates, declaring them free. The Joker taunts him, holding up a straitjacket and suggesting Batman accept his fate as a lunatic meant for the asylum. He offers Batman the choice of letting the inmates kill him or staying. Batman, however, proposes letting his fate be decided by Two-Face, handing him back his coin. Initially hesitant, Harvey agrees. The Joker, excited by the chaos, supports the idea. Harvey flips the coin, announcing that if the clean side lands, Batman goes free. If the scarred side lands, Batman dies. The coin glints in the lightning before landing. Harvey declares he goes free. Batman and Joker stand side by side at the asylum gates, and Joker playfully remarks on their parting, suggesting Batman enjoyed his time there. He bids Batman and the inmates farewell, adding that if Batman ever struggles in the outside world, he'll always have a place at the asylum. In the end, Harvey is seen, alone, looking at his coin. It's revealed that the coin had actually landed scarred side up, indicating Harvey ignored the result and chose to let Batman live. He quotes from Alice in Wonderland, addressing his stack of cards. "Who cares for you? You're nothing but a pack of cards," and knocks them down. This moment leaves readers questioning Harvey's sanity and motives. Has he grown beyond his dependency on the coin for making decisions, or did Ruth Adams' therapy genuinely impact him? The scene suggests Harvey's transformation into someone with his own sense of reasoning. The extent and nature of his change remain open to interpretation. Like any great literary work, it's ultimately captured in the expression, show, don't tell. Other major stories. Director Robert Huntoon was the last head of Arkham before Jeremiah Arkham. His tenure was plagued by scandals, such as the Joker's escape during Batman, The Killing Joke, where the Joker used a body double, and Abattoir's infiltration through a contracted cleaning company. Huntoon updated security, adding an anti-riot gas system and allowing guards to carry guns, but these measures were ineffective. Despite these failures, Huntoon developed a strong relationship with Batman, who would often contact him directly for patient interviews in Detective Comics number 628 from 1991. Before the Abattoir incident became public, Huntoon retired, recommending Jeremiah Arkham, Amadeus Arkham's nephew, as his successor. Jeremiah, a psychiatrist with dubious ethics, immediately demolished the old asylum and rebuilt it. He symbolically burned the old files, including his uncle's diary. The new facility resembled the original Arkham ancestral home. It was structured as a circular labyrinth, designed to contain the inmates securely. Jeremiah added glass observation walls to the cells, removing inmates' privacy but allowing constant surveillance. Interviews with violent inmates were now conducted only through glass barriers or in isolation rooms for staff safety. This happened in Batman Shadow of the Bat number 3 from 1992. Batman later infiltrated the asylum as an inmate to investigate how Victor Zsasz was escaping his cell at night to commit crimes. Jeremiah used this opportunity to pit inmates against Batman, conducting an intense psychiatric study. However, the asylum's new iteration was soon destroyed by Bane, who released the inmates to weaken Batman. It took Batman weeks to recapture the escapees, leaving physically and mentally exhausted. During the repairs following Bane's attack, authorities temporarily housed former Arkham inmates at Blackgate Penitentiary. Arkham Asylum's second location was discovered by the Joker, who stumbled upon the abandoned Mercy Mansion on Mercy Island, Gotham's northern coast. The Gothic manor, built by Eric Mercy, a wealthy cement tycoon, had been deserted for a decade. It featured a private theater and once lush gardens. After Batman recaptured the Joker, Jeremiah Arkham arrived with the police and was captivated by the mansion's isolated location. He decided it'd be the perfect spot for another Arkham Asylum reconstruction, transforming the mansion into a new facility. This decision was chronicled in Batman: Shadow of the Bat number 38 from May 1995. A few years later, during a federal government crisis that left Gotham City in chaos, gang violence escalated. Arkham Asylum staff deserted the facility, freeing the inmates and shutting it down for a year. Jeremiah Arkham was forced to disable security measures and release the patients to save his own life. The Joker stayed behind, setting the asylum ablaze. In Batman: No Man's Land, the Joker and Harley Quinn briefly lived in the ruins voluntarily. Around this time, Batman established a temporary Batcave on Mercy Island, known as the Northwest Batcave. In Black Orchid number 1, the superpowered heroine Black Orchid visited the asylum during her quest to discover her identity. She sought information from Poison Ivy, but was horrified by the asylum's grim atmosphere, calling it tottering and obscene. The staff proved unhelpful, forcing her to seek aid from inmates like Two-Face and the Joker, who were freely interacting in a common room. Lower-risk patients, such as the Mad Hatter, roamed the corridors without supervision. The Mad Hatter eventually guided Black Orchid to Poison Ivy's cell, further highlighting the asylum's chaotic and disorganized state. During Final Crisis, when Batman is missing, a new Black Mask frees the asylum inmates and proclaims himself their leader. He then destroys the asylum using a controlled explosion. Jeremiah Arkham walks through the ruins, reflecting on his life. He discovers blueprints from Amadeus Arkham for a new asylum. He contemplates the fates of his non-violent special patients, an artist who paints expressions on his almost blank face, a man fixated on mirrors, and a woman whose appearance supposedly drives others insane. Finding these patients unharmed due to their secluded cells, Jeremiah resolves to rebuild Arkham as a true sanctuary for the mentally ill. Yet the artist secretly paints a Joker-like grin, hinting that both the patients and Jeremiah himself may have succumbed to madness. In Batman: Arkham Reborn, Jeremiah Arkham rebuilds the asylum based on his ancestors' designs. Batman later exposes him as the new Black Mask, and Alice Sinner institutionalized him as the new director. It's revealed that Jeremiah's special patients were only his delusions. Sinner's regime proves corrupt as she collaborates with Black Mask's organization and the Church of Crime. Less than a year later, in Batman Eternal number 29, a supervillain assault causes severe damage to Arkham Asylum, collapsing when a massive fissure opens beneath its foundations. At the same time, Wayne Enterprises is targeted by Hush, leading Bruce Wayne to file for bankruptcy. Wayne Manor is seized by the state and chosen as the new site for Arkham Asylum's latest iteration. Batman, knowing the building intimately, accepts this arrangement, using it to monitor his rogues gallery. This is from Arkham Manor number 6. More comic versions of Arkham Asylum. In Batman Confidential number 9, Arkham Asylum's origins are attributed to Jonathan Crane, who designed it as Arkham House for a new breed of villain. Crane's vision for the facility became reality after the Joker's crime spree prompted the City Council's approval. In Alan Grant's Batman of Arkham and Elseworlds story, Bruce Wayne becomes a Gotham psychiatrist in early 20th century, taking ownership of Arkham Asylum to reform its poor reputation. Wayne, after his parents' murder, dedicates himself to treating the criminally insane to prevent further tragedies. He rehabilitates Killer Croc through hypnotherapy, rendering him docile, incarcerates Poison Ivy for her militant suffragist activities. Frank Miller's 1986 Dark Knight series, set 10 years after Batman's retirement, shows Arkham renamed the Arkham Home for the Emotionally Troubled. The Joker, catatonic in Batman's absence, awakens when Batman returns. Bartholomew Walper, a psychologist employed at the home, treats the Joker humanely, arranging for him to appear on a talk show. Walper blames Batman for his enemy's existence. However, the Joker kills Walper and the audience using lethal gas. In Miller's Dark Knight Strikes Again sequel, the patients have taken over the institution, resorting to cannibalism. Plastic Man is among the notable meta-human inmates. In JLA, The Nail, a non-canon story, the Joker, aided by Kryptonian gauntlets from Jimmy Olsen, invades Arkham. He erects a force field around the asylum, forcing inmates to fight for the chance to serve him. Catwoman wins the fight shortly before Batman breaks in. The Joker captures Batman, making him watch as he brutally kills Batgirl and Robin. Catwoman distracts the Joker, allowing Batman to escape and disable the gauntlets. In a rage, Batman beats the Joker to death on the asylum's roof. The building then collapses, seemingly killing most of the remaining inmates. In Superman, Emperor Joker, Superman is committed to Arkham Asylum, now under the control of Warden Solomon Grundy and Chief Guard Calendar Man, who replaced Jeremiah Arkham and Aaron Cash. Parademons serve as the asylum staff. The entire Mercy Island is relocated to the cockpit of the SS Arkham, a giant space capsule imprisoning skeptics and intellectuals to break their mind. These changes are due to the Joker gaining Mr. Mix's Piddlex powers, allowing him to reshape reality. In Batman Crimson Mist, the third part of the trilogy starting with Batman and Dracula, Red Rain, Batman, corrupted by his vampiric thirst, murders all of Arkham's prisoners, including Amygdala, Victor Zsasz, and the Mad Hatter. He drinks their blood and decapitates them to prevent their resurrection as vampires. In Batman White Knight, Arkham Asylum was once a historic site known as Old Fort Arkham, before it became an asylum due to the rise of supercriminals like the Joker. It holds supercriminals indefinitely, with only 2 successful rehabilitation cases, Harley Quinn and Jack Napier, formerly the Joker. Harley leaves the Joker after his torture of Jason Todd and eventually helps Jack Napier with medication that temporarily cures his chemical imbalance. After therapy, Napier returns to society, using Arkham's library to file a lawsuit against the asylum and the GCPD, claiming they worsened the conditions of inmates to manipulate Gotham's citizens. Napier's campaign succeeds, and he becomes a councilman, arresting Batman for unregulated violence. However, when Neo Joker emerges as a new threat, Batman is needed again. Napier's cure eventually fails, and he reverts to the Joker personality. Sent back to Arkham, he receives a better cell in recognition of his deeds as Jack Napier. Arkham Asylum in the animated world. In Batman, the animated series, Arkham Asylum is a frequent setting. It has a dark, gloomy appearance, with cells mostly sealed by glass doors. The rest of the asylum resembles a prison more than a mental institution. Criminals captured by Batman are generally sent here rather than jail, though Harley Quinn is shown being sent to Stonegate Penitentiary. The series doesn't mention Jeremiah or Amadeus Arkham, but the episode Dreams in Darkness features a character resembling Jeremiah Arkham, though with a more compassionate demeanor. The asylum's notable inmates include Joker, Mr. Freeze, Two-Face, Scarecrow, Mad Hatter, Riddler, Killer Croc, the Penguin, the Ventriloquist and Scarface, Baby Doll, Maxie Zeus, and Lockup. The design in BTAS is gothic and prison-like, becoming more sterile as the DC animated universe evolves. In Justice League, Arkham Asylum appears briefly in A Better World Part 2, showing an alternate dimension ruled by a fascist Justice League. In this version, villains are executed or lobotomized. The Joker, now lobotomized, runs the asylum, which is guarded by robotic Superman copies. The alternate Superman's heat vision has lobotomized most patients, including notable characters like Joker, Two-Face, and Mad Hatter. The ventriloquist is spared, but his doll, Scarface, is not. In Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, the final confrontation between the original Batman and the Joker takes place at the abandoned Arkham Asylum. This is also where Robin, brainwashed into a junior version of the Joker, killed the Joker. A deleted scene shows Bruce Wayne visiting the abandoned asylum. Terry McGinnis, the new Batman, follows Bruce and discovers the Joker's corpse hanging there. It's implied that the new Joker placed the corpse recently, as it's tied with ropes. Unlike before, it now bears the words, "I know." The scene adds a chilling layer, suggesting the new Joker's intention to intimidate Bruce Wayne or anyone else investigating Arkham's dark history. In the Batman from the Matsudaverse, Arkham Asylum holds many of Gotham's major villains, including the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, Bane, Maxie Zeus, Ventriloquist, Firefly, Wrath, and Temblor. The staff is heavily armored, wearing trench coats and gloves, yet this doesn't prevent inmates from frequently escaping. The asylum is located near Gotham's city limits. It occupies a small island connected by a bridge, similar to Mercy Island in the comics. In Batman, the Brave and the Bold, Arkham Asylum appears in the episode Mayhem of the Music Meister. The inmates include Joker, Mr. Freeze, Mad Hatter, Top, Psycho Pirate, Tweedledee, Tweedledum, Two-Face, Scarecrow, Crazy Quilt, Dr. Polaris, Calendar Man, and King Tut. Batman also mentions that other villains like Black Mask and Hellgramite are held there. In another episode, Joker the Vile and the Villainous, the Joker is shown being transported to Arkham, emphasizing its role as Gotham's main facility for housing super criminals. In Batman, Gotham Knight, the asylum's depiction expands upon Jim Gordon's line from Batman Begins. The Narrows is lost. The Crossfire segment reveals that the Narrows was repurposed, transforming the entire island into Arkham Island, dedicated to the asylum's grounds. The asylum is now a high-security fortress, featuring checkpoints and sniper towers, utilizing the island's natural barriers for added defense. This reimagining of Arkham Asylum aligns with portrayals seen later in the Batman Arkham Asylum video game. This version of Arkham is heavily fortified, aiming to prevent breakouts while maintaining a significant presence in Gotham's landscape. The structure and island location of the asylum mirror classic comic interpretations, creating a secure yet eerie environment. It houses many of Gotham's most notorious criminals, continually playing a critical role in Batman's efforts to maintain order in the city. Arkham in Batman video games. In LEGO Batman, the video game, Arkham Asylum serves as the hub for villains. It features an experiment room and a docking bay for Joker, Penguin, and Two-Face's vehicle. On the other hand, in the Batman Arkham series, Arkham is the central setting of Batman Arkham Asylum 2009. The Joker orchestrates a riot control of the asylum. The game draws inspiration from Mercy Island of the 90s, depicting Arkham as a sprawling island off Gotham's coast with multiple buildings. It includes the iconic Victorian mansion, a factory-turned-intensive care unit, and expansive subterranean network. Arkham Island also makes appearances in Batman Arkham City, Batman Arkham Origins, Batman Arkham Knight, and Justice Gods Among Us. The Injustice series shows Arkham Asylum as a fighting stage in both Injustice Gods Among Us and Injustice 2. Inmates like Two-Face, Scarecrow, Penguin, Riddler, Killer Croc, Poison Ivy, Solomon Grundy, and Mr. Freeze appear. Hugo Strange is also shown as part of the staff. And finally, in Telltale Batman, Arkham Asylum was founded in 1921 and managed by the Arkham family for generations. By the late 1980s or early 1990s, Thomas Wayne, Carmine Falcone, and Mayor Hamilton Hill gained control of the facility, using it to imprison innocent people who opposed them. They used a psychoactive agent to induce psychosis in these victims, allowing them to fill the asylum and take control of Gotham. Some inmates were also released strategically to further their influence. When the current generation of the Arkham family attempted to expose these actions, Thomas Wayne arranged for their assassination. After Thomas's death, Hill halted these activities but stockpiled the psychoactive chemical for future use. Over the next 2 decades, Arkham fell into disrepair and corruption. The staff grew disillusioned, rehabilitation methods became crude, and escapes were frequent. Despite the deterioration, some staff members, like Head of Psychiatry Dr. Joan Leyland, remained committed to helping the inmates. The Children of Arkham, a political group, tried to raise awareness about Thomas Wayne's misdeeds, but their efforts were ignored. Various criminals, including Victor Zsasz and Arnold Wesker, were committed to Arkham. One unrecorded inmate, dubbed John Doe, appeared without the staff's knowledge, and Harleen Quinzel served as his therapist before leaving the asylum. Years later, Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent planned to replace Arkham with a new, more ethical mental hospital. The City Council approved the project with backing from Wayne Enterprises board members. Now we can draw our attention to the various live-action adaptations of the asylum, with special emphasis on its portrayal from the ongoing Penguin series. In Batman Forever and Batman and Robin from the Schumacher films, Arkham Asylum is depicted as a towering castle-like structure, narrow hallways lit by bright glass bricks. Batman's enemies are often incarcerated there shortly after their capture. In Batman Forever, Edward Nygma is confined in a padded cell after his brain is affected by the destruction of his box devices. An alternate opening sequence showing Two-Face escaping from Arkham was cut due to its violent implication. In Batman and Robin, Mr. Freeze is imprisoned in Arkham after Batman captures him. He escapes with the help of Poison Ivy and Bane. After their plan to freeze Gotham is thwarted, Freeze and Ivy are returned to Arkham as cellmates, despite their gender difference. In the Batman Forever video game adaptation, Arkham appears as the first stage, but its location differs. While the film shows it in a forested area, the game places it along Gotham's waterfront. In the Dark Knight trilogy, Arkham Asylum is crucial to the plot, especially in Batman Begins. Jonathan Crane, also known as Scarecrow, serves as a high-ranking doctor or administrator. He uses the asylum to conduct experiments on his patients with his fear gas. Crane manipulates the asylum's infrastructure, releasing his toxin into Gotham's water supply through the pipes. Arkham's location is changed from the remote forest seen in comics to the slum area called the Narrows. This version of Arkham remains on an island, separated by 9 drawbridges. By the film's end, the events involving Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul's plan render the Narrows uninhabitable. Victor Zsasz is one of the inmates. Carmine Falcone is mentioned as an inmate in The Dark Knight. After the events of Batman Begins, Arkham Asylum is closed, but its inmates are transferred to Blackgate Prison. The novelization of The Dark Knight Rises suggests that the Joker is the asylum's only remaining inmate, left there following the closure of the facility. In the TV series Gotham, Arkham Asylum is situated on an island in the northern part of Gotham City. This island also houses Arkham City and the D'Angelo sewage treatment plant. Professor Hugo Strange serves as the director of Arkham and is secretly employed by the Court of Owl. Strange conducts experiments on inmates in a hidden underground facility called Indian Hill. Over time, Arkham has held many notorious criminals such as Jerome Valeska, the Riddler, the Mad Hatter, the Executioner, the Scarecrow, Professor Pig, and Jeremiah Valeska. In the Snyder films, Arkham Asylum is referenced briefly across multiple DC Extended Universe entries, including Suicide Squad and both versions of Justice League. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, Batman mentions that he arranged for Lex Luthor to be imprisoned there. In the director's cut of Justice League, the Asylum sign reads Arkham Home for the Emotionally Troubled, which is a nod to The Dark Knight Returns. At Batman, Arkham appears as Arkham State Hospital, an institution for the mentally ill. The film reveals that Martha Wayne was a frequent patient due to trauma from witnessing her mother kill her father before committing suicide. This information sheds light on the Wayne family's history and the stigma surrounding mental illness in Gotham's elite. Toward the end of the film, the Riddler is confined to Arkham for his crimes against Gotham City. While there, he befriends another inmate who was admitted a year earlier after being defeated by Batman. This interaction hints at the possibility of future alliances and threats emerging from within Arkham's walls. In Joker: Folie à Deux, Arkham Asylum is portrayed through Arthur Fleck's continued journey in the facility following the events of the first Joker film. The movie explores the depths of Arkham during Arthur's time there, focusing on the harsh conditions he and other patients face, especially from the guards. The film paints a grim picture of the asylum, emphasizing the dehumanizing environment and the poor treatment of its inhabitants by those tasked with their rehabilitation. Arthur, played by Joaquin Phoenix, faces relentless torment from guards like Brendan Gleeson's character, Jackie. Jackie and the guards mock the patients, using their mental health struggles as a form of entertainment. They even incentivize Arthur and others with cigarettes, encouraging them to act out their disorders rather than seeking any real help. This treatment shows how Arkham, in this universe, is far from a facility that offers any form of rehabilitation. Instead, it becomes an environment where patients are abused and ridiculed, pushing them further into their issues rather than helping them recover. A particularly dark moment in Joker: Folie à Deux hints at Arthur being sexually assaulted by Jackie and other guards. While the assault isn't shown directly, the implications are clear, and it deeply affects Arthur. This traumatic experience ultimately drives Arthur to seek help and to shed the Joker persona, highlighting the cruelty and abusive nature of Arkham. The scene underscores that the asylum is a place of violence and exploitation rather than support. In The Penguin, set in the same universe as the Batman, Arkham is further explored through Sophia Falcone's storyline. Sophia, played by Kristen Milioti, is wrongly committed to Arkham by her father, Carmine Falcone. The show reveals that the asylum is equally as hostile as depicted in Joker 2. Abuse is portrayed more subtly. In episode 4 of The Penguin, Sophia's experience shows the harsh treatment inmates endure. She's manhandled, stripped, thrown into a cell without any concern for her well-being. This reinforces the idea that Arkham is not a place for recovery, but rather a setting that exacerbates mental illness. Sophia's backstory in The Penguin reveals that she was framed by her father and unjustly placed in Arkham. The episode uses her experience to showcase the underlying abuse within the facility, even if it is less overt than what Arthur faced in Joker 2. The physical and psychological harm Sophia endures, including mistreatment by the guards and carers manipulated by Falcone, mirrors the inhumane conditions depicted in the Joker sequel. This storyline also includes references to other DC characters like Magpie and integrates connections to the Batman, further expanding the portrayal of Arkham in the series. Marvel's verdict: Arkham Asylum's portrayal in DC Comics has evolved, but it's always housed Gotham's most dangerous villains. Initially established to rehabilitate patients, Arkham became infamous as the birthplace of some of Batman's greatest enemies. Over the years, figures like Jonathan Crane, Hugo Strange, and Harleen Quinzel have emerged from within its walls, often twisted further by the very institution and to heal them. This aligns with the dark, abusive portrayal seen in Joker, Folie à Deux, and The Penguin, reflecting the source material's history of Arkham's corruption and cruelty. With James Gunn's new DC Universe project, The Brave and the Bold, focusing on Batman, there's potential to further explore Arkham in live action. Gunn, known for embracing comic book elements in his films, could expand Arkham's portrayal beyond the grounded, gritty tone of previous adaptations. By incorporating the more fantastical aspects of Arkham from the comics, such as its supernatural elements and deeper connections to Gotham's lore, Gunn's vision could present Arkham as an even more terrifying and complex setting. The DCU's first chapter, Gods and Monsters, offers a platform for Gunn to reimagine Arkham in a way that remains true to its comic roots while adding new layers, bridging its dark past with a dynamic, fresh approach in line with Batman's universe. And if it's our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.